about slopes of lines, and we've talked about some special lines before. We've talked about some special lines that you might see coming from an equation and what those equations look like. Well, those two special lines have special slopes to them, so we're going to focus today on what those slopes are of those special lines. So we're going to find the slope of the line from a graph. So let's take a look at this line here. You'll notice that this is a horizontal line. If you'll remember from our horizontal line, our special lines are always going to be one of our variables equals a number, so it's an x or a y. Since this one goes through the y-axis at 5, we know the equation for this is y equals 5. And that makes sense because both of our ordered pairs have a y value of 5. So we know all those things about that to start with, but the question is, what's the slope of this line? So if I think about this as rise over run, I can have a run from one point to the other. Notice I would have to go 7 places as my run, but I don't have to go up and down at all, so I'd end up with a run of 0. So if I look at this on the graph, I have my rise over my run. I have a rise of 0 and a run of, in this case, it would be a run of 7. So if I plug my values into my slope formula here, 5 over negative 1, yep, there we go. 5 over 6, yes, subtract. I have 0 over negative 7. 0 divided by any number is always 0. This is a perfectly legitimate math operation. I can do 0 divided by a number. That will give you 0. Try it on your calculator. So this means the slope is 0. So I have a 0 slope here. A 0 slope means there's no rise. I don't go up and down. It's a horizontal line. So I'm going to go back to our ski slope here. If you imagine that you were a skier, you could absolutely ski on this slope. You'd have your skis, you'd be standing, wondering where you're going to go next. Maybe you're a beginner skier and you're just getting used to standing on your skis. Maybe you are a cross-country skier and you are skiing on this. If you walked out of the ski lodge on your skis, you would stand there and you would have a speed of 0. So until something happened to you, until you forced yourself to move, you would have a slope, you would have a speed of 0. So perfectly safe to ski on this, just not very exciting. It's not very much downhill skiing. So this is a 0 slope. All right, let's look at our other special line, our vertical line. So here's a vertical line right here. Now I'm gonna stick right with our ski lodge, our skiing analogy here. Imagine you were going to be skiing on this. No, there's no skiing on this. This is, if you imagine yourself with your skis are not going to stick to this. You can't ski down this. You might fall, or have some horrible emergency room accident that you would need to be in the hospital for a while. This isn't really skiing. So when we think about the slope of this, we kind of go like, what kind of a slope could this possibly be? Because we can't really ski on this. Well, let's take a look. Now, if we think about our rise and our run here, I definitely have a rise, but I don't have a run. I don't have a run at all. I'm not going from side to side. So my run here is looking like a 0. So I'm going to take my two ordered pairs. I'm going to plug them in, y over x minus my y over x, and I get 4 over 0. That's what we said our run was going to be 0. We can't do 4 divided by 0. That's highly illegal. If you throw it in your calculator is going to yell at you. You're going to get undefined. I can't take 4 of something and divide it by no one. That's highly illegal. So we say this is an undefined slope, or you could say it has no slope. It doesn't have a run. It is a vertical line. It's our vertical line, not a vertical slope. It has no slope. That's different from 0. When in English, 0 and no tend to mean the same thing. They don't mean the same thing here. This does not have a slope. So in other words, if you're at the ski lodge, do not let the happy guy behind the counter tell you to go to this slope for a run. This is not going to work. So this has no slope, whereas a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Slope of 0, perfectly safe to ski on. You're fine. It's super unexciting. This slope, undefined slope, they will never talk about this slope if you go join the ski club and you start to go skiing. They're not sending you out to this. So our two special lines have two very different slopes from each other. One is a 0 slope, that's our horizontal line, and one is a no slope, that is our vertical line.